I was on IMDb the other day looking at some one-star reviews of some films and TV shows that I like, because I thought it'd be a good idea for a video, but it turned out that it wasn't a good idea for a video. But it did get me thinking, because I saw a review for Firefly, which is just one of my favorite things of all time. I saw a few reviews actually that just said basically that it was really, really boring. And what they were objecting to is that, a lot of times in Firefly, the characters will sort of sit around talking, and they'll be having lunch together, and it's a very dialogue-heavy Joss Whedon show. And what I found was, like, I definitely couldn't disagree with that, but obviously the case is that I love that about it, and they just didn't. And that got me thinking that, downtime, some quality downtime with some quality characters in a novel or a film or a TV show is just one of my favorite things. Honestly, my favorite scenes in Firefly are when they're just sitting around at the dinner table, shooting the shit and telling stories. My favorite scenes in The Last Airbender are when the characters are just flying around on Appa and chatting. And I've recently been rewatching the films of Richard Linklater, who's one of my favorite filmmakers and has been, I think, since I was sort of in my late teens. And his films famously have, or at least a lot of them, have very little plot. His film Before Sunrise is just about two people that meet on a train and they decide to spend the day together, and then it's just like that day. Nothing particularly high stakes happens, or nothing high stakes at all happens, really. You could argue. His first film, Dazed and Confused, is just about the sort of the last day of school and how all the different kids and all the different types of kids and people react, and how it's a kind of like magical time generally, but there's no real plot here to speak of. And yet, I love those films so much, and it's been a while since I'd revisited them, but I've just gone back and rewatched them, and I still love them. I might love them more than I did then. So it got me thinking, why is that? When we're told that, like, plot is so important, and like the characters are going to drive the plot, and we need to sort of invest in sort of in what's happening. Why is it that just these moments of quiet and downtime, and even whole films that are based on that premise, sort of are still brilliant and captivating to me? I think there are two reasons. I think the first one is that you can still have drama without the plot. There's a scene in Before Sunrise where the two characters go into a record shop, and they find something, and they go into one of these like listening booths, and they're listening to this song, and then they kind of realize as it starts to play, and I guess they don't have headphones on because it's a listening booth, but they sort of realize that it's an incredibly romantic song, and there's obviously kind of romantic feelings that are happening here and are developing, and you can see them kind of looking at each other and looking away, and they're not quite catching each other's eyes, and it's this incredibly exciting moment to watch, and it's pure drama, really, but just kind of without plot. And I think when you write characters well, and characters are really well written, that's the power of it, is that you can have moments like this that are just full of drama. And in the case of Dazed and Confused, some people might say it's about nothing. I would say, without trying to sound too pretentious, that it's sort of about everything. It's about all of those little fragments of human life, the things that we do and say. It's about kind of being young and that transition into adulthood, and you can see all of these tiny stories, almost micro stories, just play out, in so many different ways, and that's the real magic of it for me. Of course, like in something like The Last Airbender, or even in some scenes in Firefly, I wouldn't go as far as that. I think for those cases, it just justifies for me the real power of fiction, which is, the ability for you to just be transported to a different place. And in those cases, I sort of feel like I'm hanging out with those characters. And because I love them so much, and again, this all comes back to character, but because I love these characters so much, I just want to be there, and I just want to be with them, and I sort of feel like I'm part of the team, or I'm part of the crew, especially in these sort of big ensemble pieces. So it's interesting to me. Like Terrence Malick is another one. He makes long, boring films. I'm not gonna say that he doesn't. I'm not gonna come and say, oh no, that's full of plot and drama. But for his films, they're just about atmosphere, and I just like being quiet and existing in the beautiful places that he puts on screen. So there's some kind of ramblings, really, but I'm interested to know what you think. Are these things, do you find these things boring? Would you say that they're boring, or do they mean as much to you as they do to me? And if they do, why? Can you put your finger on sort of what that is? Because it's always been my favorite type of fiction, and I sort of aspire to write fiction like that, write characters that are as full and as full of life, so that people want to just sit with them and enjoy them. I don't know, just some kind of random thoughts for a Friday. So let me know what you think, and I will see you next week.